from about that partition to where that long lumber is stacked. There's a red line on the floor. Beyond the red line is going to be a multi-purpose area where, people can have small get-togethers, meetings, maybe the township or whatever. Parties for kids. We're going to leave the stage the way it is. And from the red line, where the lumber is, to this partition here is going to be a permanent exhibition space. And we hope to have maybe a replica of a kitchen in there with stoves, pots and pans, general family life. Over here, from here to that red line, I designed a replica of a pick and shovel mine. It's going to be, I think I've allotted about 16 feet from that red line this way. It's going to be 16 feet long, 8 feet wide, and that's what the miners told me that they were, 8 feet wide, 5 feet high. And we're going to have 3 windows along this center section so people can look in and see how crowded it was inside. And we have some mannequins. We're going to put some up in expose. Hopefully we can build a little coal car. So it's going to be authentic. And people can see, what it was like to work there. And I'm sure, your family knows this, but my dad said a good day is when you could work on your knees. I just can't imagine that. He said the coal car was about this high, 5 feet is about here. They had to bounce the coal off the ceiling into the coal cars because they couldn't shovel it in.
That's why they like to have some kids in there.
What?
That's why they like to have some kids in there also, because they were small.
Yeah, we might open it up for some kids to crawl through, but we're not quite sure about that yet.
But I mean, at that time, the kids, like my dad started when he was 12.
Yeah, right.
So that the kids could get in small areas.
Yeah, they worked as breaker boys. They separated the rock from the coal. From the end of simulated mine, we're going to have an area devoted to the Second World War and the Depression, because those are 2 areas that affected the whole United States, everybody. So those 2 things are very important. Before I designed this work, Glenn and I visited about 23 museums or galleries, mostly museums, to find out what they did and how they did it. So that's what we're going to do. The Second World War thing, we don't have anything yet, but I have a connection to get some uniforms and maybe some weapons. I'm not sure yet. I can send it back to you. World War II, why? Great. Yeah, people have anything like that, send it, whether it's writing or material or items. The Depression is going to be mostly just wall information panels because there's no items. So it's going to be mostly information. Right here, from where these divisions are, since Nanny will start off as a lumber camp, we're going to do a small section of lumbering, and then farming moved in on cleared land, so there's going to be lumbering, farming, Native Americans. There were some here, mostly in the Lundy's Corner area, but I'm not sure about Native American lumbering, farming. And then we'll come into this section. In the middle here, from here to the multi-purpose area, will be an open exhibition area with folding exhibition screens. So in case somebody here in Nannyville or Blackwood Valley has a beaded purse collection, we'll display that. Or maybe they're painters or they're potters or whatever. That will be a changing exhibition area in the center. So that over there will be permanent, mostly devoted to mining, because that's what we were, as you know. We're going to retain the stage. a story about the stage. When we first came in here, after the building was ours, I walked through there, I had goosebumps. Because when I saw the stage, in 1950, I was a senior, and we decided, a bunch of us, 7 of us, decided, let's be in a minstrel. We didn't know what a minstrel was. Yeah, we'll do this. So, we had blackface, and my mother made my costume, and I sat in that, about where that second chair is exposed there. We sat on bales of hay. There were 7 of us. We told corny jokes. It was scripture. So it was racist. Yeah, I found out that the minstrel, the high school put on the minstrel from 1922 to 23 to about 55. And it was, you just couldn't do that anymore.
Were you with Tom Mackel? Tom Mackel?
Yep.
I remember that. I remember him stepping on the buzz and on the off the hay
They were
bales.
so corny, and she and I go Stager, Swanhart, Francis Charney. There were about 7 of us. Anyway, we told corny jokes, and we had to sing corny song, and I had the worst song ever written in the whole wide world. It was so bad. Nobody would trade it. Come on, trade me. I don't want to sing this song. Nobody. It was bad. No, it was just hard to sing. Nobody would trade me, so it got my turn to come up. So I on the stage, the orchestra was down there playing, and I got up and I couldn't remember the words. The song was so bad that I just, I bumped it up, and I'm there sweating, my black face is starting to come off, and my mom and dad were in the audience, so I thought I got to get out of it somehow. So then I start talking to my mother and dad. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. So he came up to the front, and he started complaining to the piano player that it was her fault that I couldn't remember the song. And after all, I remember what it was. That was embarrassing. The blackface was really melting off. I was sweating so bad. So anyway, that's that exhibition area there. Permanent, Second World War. As I said, we visited about 23 museums and galleries, and it was sort of my job because at IUP in the art department, I was involved with galleries and museums, so I said, yeah, I'll do this. So that's how the plan came about. It was changed a little bit once it got into the architect's hands because it had to conform to code. Like my restrooms are much smaller than that. Couldn't have that.
I think the ceiling is high as this week.
The ceiling was as high as what you see. Yeah. Now we're going to have a...
Things that drop down.
Pardon?
You can probably put the slaves that would drop down.
I haven't opened that part yet. We're going to have a second floor.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes from there to about where there's lumber. So there's all lumber things on it. And we're going to use that as storage because we have quite a few things that are stored above the library. And we have a building in Jackson Township where we have stuff stored. So we'll make use of all that storage. So it'll be a 10-foot house.
Most likely our first exhibit in this big area that John told you about, and we get up and running. Most likely it'll be the photo exhibit that John curated that we had at IUP, which was a huge success. Their attendance was the biggest attendance they had for any exhibit ever at the IUP Museum. So we're thinking that that'll probably be our first exhibit. Because there were a lot of people that wanted to see it. So they keep asking, are we ever going to show them the photographs again?
When we first decided to do that, I was connected with a woman in Indiana. We live in Indiana. That's connected with the museum at IUP. And she said, yeah, I'll help you do this. So, she and I picked out the photographs, and we wrote a grant to frame them. And the exhibition, I think, had 82 photographs and about 30 wall plaques with information on it. And it took her and I 10 months to do this. And this is not like once a week. This was like 3. And after about 9 months, I'm saying, why am I doing this? You know, this is knocking me out. But then when it opened, and the miners came from there, and they had tears in their eyes, it was okay. Another story about that exhibit. One day I was sitting, watching the museum, and it's composed of 3 rooms at the Jones Sutton Museum. And I'm sitting out in the hallway, and I hear somebody crying. Uh-oh. So I ran back. I had to go through 2 rooms, and I got there, and there's this woman standing in front of one of the photographs. And she says, "That's me." She was a little baby. Her mother was holding her in her arms, and it was a kitchen. There was loads of bread on a table, photographs of sons in the army and all that, and 3 or 4 people. And she says, "That's me." About a month ago, we had the same kind of situation for the Kalenic family, who was featured in Life magazine. They had a family reunion in here, in Danville, and they said, could we see what the museum looks like? I said, well, there's nothing there yet, but they wanted to see it anyway. So anyway, they came, and the whole family is down here. That's familiar, certainly, scrubbing the back. This is the original Life magazine. It was May 1943, I believe. We had 2 magazines. He and I go to flea markets, so we put these up here. And that's from that time. So is this. This is my grandfather. Photographers. The first one came to town in 1937. Ben Shaw. I knew him as a painter, as an artist. He was very influential as an artist. And his themes for paintings were the oppressed. That's what he did. So anyway, we were in the middle of the Depression. Roosevelt wanted to get us out of the Depression, so they formed this Farm Security Administration. And they hired artists, photographers, writers, because everybody was out of a job, so they gave these photographers a job to come and tour southwestern Pennsylvania down into Kentucky. So Ben Shaw came to Nanticoke, and some of his photographs, if you ever find this magazine, Times.
What year is it?
37. Yeah. Please buy it and send it to me.
Sure.
Because we have the article, but we don't have the magazine.
We've been looking for years, we just never come across it at any.
Do you have contact Time Magazine company?
I'm sorry?
Do you have contact Time Magazine?
Yeah, we can get the cover. You can get a poster of the cover. Can't get it back.
Two internationally known photographers came to Nanticoke at different times for different reasons. Ben Shaw was the first. And his photographs, for me as an artist, are more emotional than the other one. This is Wissinger's Market. You might remember Wissinger's Market.
Okay.
It's on the corner of Roberts
Roberts
and
Robert Lloyd.
Yeah, I remember it's Wissinger.
You have what's in it?
across from
Plus, when there's a
Slims,
fire
right across from Slims, Bible on the other.
This photograph is so emotional.
That's impressive.
Yep. These kids have no life. No kid life. They picked these bags of coal, 100 pounds, 10 cents. They either brought them home or they sold them for 10 cents. Now, that's...
These photos were in the exhibit.
There's this mother with a daughter picking coal, putting it in these 100-pound bags.
I can remember my mother taking my brothers, I have 4 older brothers. I can remember taking, especially my brother Mike, with the wagon, going, to the dumps.
And also along the railroad tracks, they were there.
Holding it fell off, coal fell off cars. This man, just look at his dirty clothes. He's featured. There's the mother. And look at this little boy with a coal bucket on his shoulder. Look at his hair. This one's taken in the Springfield area. Springfield line is back there, the tip and such. Now we think that these two are still living. They would be in their 80s, late 80s, middle 80s, but we can't, no one knows who they are.
From the Nashville.
Yeah. Because they look about the right age to still be living.
Sure.
Look at this girl. She's sticking forward. I mean, that's tragic. What?
That looks like Snorky.
Really?
Looks like Snorky.
That could be.
Is Snorky still living?
About 90 by now.
Is he still living?
Oh, I imagine he's about 90 by now. He's probably fast.
This is that same man.
Snorky, guys. One boy.
You think that's Snorky?
I don't know, but I'm saying that the resemblance to the face is like it looks like Snorky. But it's not.
This is that same man picking. Oh, Bob.
Hi, John.
Picking coal. This photograph was in a book on Depression area time photographs. And we found the book at the museum in Greensburg, and I almost wet my pants. I opened this up, There's that same man with the front. And, he's got a rough life. But the look on his face tells you he's not gonna be defeated. He's gonna come out on top somehow. This is Bradley's home. It burned down, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't remember the houses being that gray when we lived here.
Isn't that great?
But they were. I thought, that's the way houses are supposed to be.
That's Ivy Hill, isn't it?
So, this is a sad photograph too. This woman taken from the back, walking up the back road to Evansburg. It's the beginning of Nineveh. That is so sad. Lonely. But you see, Ben Sean, these kinds of photographs, more personal to me.
Kevin.
My dad was hysterical. You remember him?
Now, Eisenstadt, who shot for Life magazine, was a totally different kind of approach to things. His was a more factual the first mine in the Inigo. That's across the street from the gold room. That's where it was. This view is from Livingston's, where Livingston's was looking up Morgan Street. You can look at these more closely, but I just want to give you a general view. Look how many people and all the cars on Rubber Street.
Oh, yeah.
This is easy now.
That's about 1945.
Wasn't the second, not only was this the second largest population?
Inigo at this time had 6,240 people. That's a lot of people. There were 5 working mines in Inigo at this time, and about 8 household mines. Remember what household mines were? 5 or 6 guys living on the side of the mountain. It's usually bad, and they all pull up on the I read a statistic where Inigo produced more coal than any town in Pennsylvania. And this was written in a mining book.
During the Second World War.
Pardon?
During the Second World War.
Yeah. That's when the population peaked. So you can see that his photographs, Eisenstadt's, were different. They were more factual. And that's the famous shot of Ozzy football.
Did you ever take the picture of the mural that was left in the Inigo High School? All the kids?
We heard about them, but we never got them. I don't know what happened.
The mural on the wall.
A mural painted on the wall.
And then
We never got it.
It was in the article. He walked in the door on the left side.
I don't know who ever did it.
No, we didn't get it. We heard about it, but evidently it was gone.
I know when they were building that building to an old age home, I went in there one day and the mural was still on the wall.
Really?
Was it still on the wall? Was it painted on the wall?
It's painted partly, yeah, it was. I don't know who did it, I don't know who did it. Yeah, they didn't, but I'm saying, I don't know who painted that picture.
Evidently it was painted over, it was destroyed because we heard about it, but we never got it. No,
You know, when I see, I was working in Anigo, about 18 years ago, 15 years ago.
Alfred Eisenstadt. Maybe you don't know him, the name, Alfred Eisenstadt. But you know that. He had the Second World War. Sailor kissing the girl in New York City. That's the same guy. So 2 internationally known photographers came to name different guys. It's just amazing. It was a nice place to grow up in, there's no doubt about that.